Welcome back, everybody. I'm Lars, and this is KSP Real Solar System Turbo. And we are going on a very, very ambitious mission today. And let's just fire this thing up. Okay, so main engines are at go, and we will fire the boosters and start our ascent. And they are, of course, overheating already. That's not optimal. But it should be fine, I think. So today's mission is actually going for a lunar flyby and perhaps an orbit around the moon, if we're able. No guarantees on this one. We might just end up not being able to. Okay, so the heat seems stable at this point. Slowly heating up. I think we will just do a temporary throttle limit here to start bringing down the heat and maybe the fuel usage. So thrust will slowly increase while we're starting to get up there. I was hoping these guys would have some more oomph in them. These are custom made, of course, which is very cool. We might not have successful launch here, but of course this is the first test flight, as I cannot revert this flight back to the VIB if it goes wrong. But we might get enough out of this thing to actually get far up. This thing, the engine down here, should be quite powerful, and hopefully it'll be enough. We are getting some aerodynamic effect here. I think we should be fine. We have the automatic fairing separation set up properly, I hope. Extra antenna here. Yeah, this should be fine. We also have the separatrons to make sure this actually separates cleanly. And of course the fact is that this whole thing will probably burn out at more or less the same time. Okay, we seem to be fine. I would like this to roll over though for the separation, but hopefully it won't matter that much. And we aren't getting any overheating up here. No, we seem to be fine. Of course this is just chugging through a lot of fuel. Yeah, we are on a nice trajectory. We will reach a good apoapsis with this thing, probably get into at least an orbital altitude with this thing only, which is enough because this thing has, the second stage has a lot of delta V in space, and then of course the final stage is just a monster. It's 6,000 meters a second, that's the payload itself. So we should be fine here. Again, I hope. So I'm actually, while I was making this, I was actually watching the start of the Orion live stream, which of course now is done, and maybe at the end of the episode I actually will know how that worked out. But this is nice, a clean separation. We are still go here. We have almost 30 seconds of burn still to go, and our apoapsis is climbing. We are going for an altitude of 500 kilometers. This should separate now very soon. Why it hasn't, I don't know. We might just separate it manually when we get there. This will separate at the second stage separation anyway, but so we had our small failure here, which isn't too bad. And you can see we have the payload here. The antenna did eject, so it might have been me replacing the fairings late. That was the problem. We are at a good altitude. We have still a lot of oomph here. This is much slower burning thing. We could stop limiting the throttle here. We are using the Tribune engine, which is quite powerful actually. It has a thrust of 250 I think, or 230 at max. Well, theoretical of course, depends on the fuel, depends on a lot of stuff. So you can see it's made of the golden stuff. We have the bigger probodobodine octo probe body here, just to make a more robust thing. So this is probably one of the bigger launch vehicles we have ever used. So let's see, we should reach 6,600 and something meters a second of yeah, so we should be able to barely get into orbit with this, and hopefully this 6,000 meters a second stage should be enough to actually get us where we want to go. We go for separation of the second stage, and the payload is free and burning brightly. This is very good. 6,000 meters a second left. We are almost into orbit here, and we should have at least enough for a flyby, which is the primary mission for this vehicle. I've set the antenna up here to just point towards Kerbin. It's strong enough. I think I'm pretty sure it's strong enough to actually stay in contact with Kerbin all the way out there. And of course, if not, that would be bad, because we don't have any satellites in low enough orbit to be able to both contact Kerbin and this craft. But it should be fine. It should absolutely be fine. This is a very high gain, very long range antenna. You can see it actually will reach to the 200 gigameter distance, which yeah, that's basically 500 times the the distance from Kerbin, so it should be very fine. We are now going to coast around for the circularization burn. It should be pretty standard. We are in quite a high orbit, which should not be a problem. It's maybe not the most efficient, but it's a very safe orbit. So it's time to start looking at our target here. We will target the moon, and of course we are not in a perfectly aligned orbit, but we should be able to burn around and meet it up at the let's see, that would be the which node? Yeah, that would be the ascending node, which it should be fine. I'm going to turn on the thing here. You can see we have a very narrow path towards Kerbin here, but from a higher, like very high orbit, it should cover most of Kerbin and the satellites close by. And thanks to our high altitude communication satellites, we are fine. And yeah, getting close to our circularization burn. And when we are in a good orbit around Earth, we should be ready to go. And as you can see here, we have a node set up for this, which is actually on the other side. Well, we are going to do one more full orbit, and then we are going to burn for the moon, which is now over here. And of course, we're just going to burn out there. We have 5,000 meters a second left. We are going to spend 3 of them to actually get to the moon. Then we are going to do some science in the moon's SOI and hopefully be able to burn into some sort of orbit. A polar orbit is optimal, probably around 600 kilometers or so, maybe around 500. It's suboptimal for one of the scanners, but it's needed to go that low for the other one. So and of course we need to plan it so we have a clear view of Kerbin while we're doing the burn. And we are getting very close to the burn here. It should be a fairly quick burn, as we have, yeah, it should take about a minute and a half. It does take a bit longer though, which is yeah, it's probably the calculation up here that's not quite exact. Approaching the moon, we do have a problem, and that is the fact that these solar panels are just not strong enough or big enough to be able to supply this dish with power. So we had a miscalculation there. I was pretty sure this would be enough, but well, we did get some signs around Kerbin from this. We might be able to upgrade to better solar panels on the next one. But for now, let's just watch this happen as we pass by the moon, wherever it is. Oh, come on. Where are you hiding? We will just do this, and now we should see the moon. There it is. We are still not connected. We are out of electric charge. So for some reason we're out of liquid oxygen as well. So we have a problem here with not enough liquid oxygen, which is probably the reason that this thing is just, well, the liquid oxygen probably just burned off. We might want to change our propulsion method as well. And we will watch as it leaves the moon's SOI and then Kerbin's SOI. 60 days out in the mission, and it is now interplanetary and will not return, possibly ever. Ascending from the launch pad, we now have the Moon Orbiter 2. I will of course cut this mission a bit shorter because you've seen this before. It's the same basic launch vehicle with an upgraded probe basically. And as we descend back to Earth after a not that successful mission, we kind of just have to acknowledge that we are not ready for this yet. The technology we've set up here is good, but the biggest problem right now is the fact that we have an end stage here, a third stage that's just not powerful enough to boost itself into orbit. Probably will be solved by adding a bigger, more powerful second stage, but at this point in time we will just have to watch this thing burn over the atmosphere, and just you can see the G-force is now being applied to this, and yeah, this just did not work out, which is very sad because this was a very expensive craft and we are down to basically no money. So we will have to take on some contracts, or I will have to take on some contracts before the next episode. And yeah, this was the mission that was supposed to save us, and it did not. And we will have to take that into account when we design the mission for the next episode. I'll see you then.